Road trip followed by, what the schedule we've had is always tough no matter where you go. Auburn's got a dominant post player right now. It's really doing a good job scoring. It's kind of fortunate we play them in Texas back to back because they are very similar styles. Johnny has taken what she, learned from Vic and Coach Blair over the years and put her own stamp on it, but there are some similarities. So as far as prep goes, we didn't have a lot of prep, just personnel change, and hopefully we can, carry over what we did well in the first three quarter, the last quarter against LSU, and the first three quarters against Texas. Get on the plane with it, take it on the road. The kids are not in school yet, so our last kind of road trip without having classes to be scheduled. So I hope we play with a lot of improvement, a lot of energy.
Ethan,
Hey, Mike. Yeah, you mentioned that Auburn, it's a little bit similar to Texas, just how they do things. Gatson, and she transferred from there. Do you think that's helped her a little bit in being so comfortable early on?
Yeah, I think um, she's also matured. I think we are starting to see this across the board in basketball. Places get kids through their freshman and sophomore years, the struggles, the maturation process, and then they go somewhere and they blossom as a junior and a senior. I think a lot of it has to do with obviously the change of scenery, but also those kids are growing up. And I think sometimes, but yeah, I'm sure it was just less of a transition for her because the styles are similar. Obviously, I think she's being counted on. There was a kind of a log jam of post players at Texas. They've got kind of an embarrassing amount of riches down there when it comes to post play. So I think she made a great decision. She obviously found somebody she was comfortable with. Johnny had been instrumental in recruiting her. So, I think the kid's confidence has soared. She's always been a good player, but I think her confidence has really come to for all of us to see under Johnny and what her staff's doing with her. And then, Bostic does such a great job as a facilitator at the point. She's not always looking to score, but man, she's hard to keep out of the paint and just breaks you down a lot of different ways. And she can dominate defensively as well. So, they've had some injuries. I know. I don't know exactly which. It's kind of been fun to follow this new reporting system we have to follow to see who's in and who's out. But we don't put much game stock in until game time list is out. But yeah, I think you're right, Ethan. I think she has transitioned very nicely and very quickly.
You mentioned it that they've had quite a few players out of the lineup just with injuries. How do you navigate that just with the prep?
Yeah, you always want to prepare for their best potential lineups. I know that Talia's been listed as out for 9 games, but I don't. We've worked on if she plays as well. I think they've had a roster change that looks like that somebody won't be back, so we'll have to make the adjustment there. But you try to prepare for their best lineup that can possibly be on the floor. And if you can guard them, then you make the adjustments on the fly. But um, they do play 10 or 11 kids. I do think they kind of group together a little bit in their and what they do for their team. So I don't think you have to necessarily, know 11. I think you have to know 4 or 5. But then you have to prepare on the fly. You have to communicate on the floor. We use colored jerseys out here in practice when we're prepping, and so we just said, hey, they either have 2 green jerseys or 3 green jerseys, and this is what we're going to be in. If they've got 4 green jerseys, then this is what we're in, and if they've got 5 green jerseys, we're in trouble, because they got five kids you got to guard. So we'll try to be as prepared we can. I think we slowed Texas down a little bit. The one thing, obviously, after you play somebody that you've got a relationship with, I was able to pick the phone up and call Vic, and say, hey, what did we do that bothered you, and what should we have done more, and things like that. And he said that our changing defenses really did slow him down, confused him a little bit, got him a little bit passive. It caused some hesitancy in Booker and even Rory Harmon. So we're going to try to continue to become that team that you have to prepare for a lot of different defenses. Maybe we steal a little bit of your practice time, and as a result, can make those games competitive into the fourth quarter.
I got one more for you right
Yeah.
now. Whenever y'all come in, y'all lost your first two conference games. They're on a three-game losing streak. Both teams want to get, back in the win column. How important is the first few minutes of the game?
Well, Coach Todd said it yesterday at the end of practice. He thinks it's vital, and I agree with him. I think we're both in that same situation. And Johnny's been in the league long enough, with her years at Mississippi State and Texas A&M, to know that. So I'm sure they'll be really keyed up, ready to go at home. We'll need to be ready to answer. Slow starts have been a problem for us. Hopefully, we've got some of those issues solved because I do think it's vital in that one. Because that's what this league can do to you we're at the mercy of our schedulers, and we both had pretty tough opening stretches. I think they had Ole Miss and maybe LSU. I can't remember LSU and Ole Miss. That's two pretty tough. We've had two pretty tough ones. So, when two teams that are similar like that meet, I think confidence is key. Who's been able to keep their head up, who's been able to play through a loss and improve. And then, we'll have to overcome the travel and the road, being on the road. But I think you'll tell a lot by what happens from tip to that first media timeout.
Thanks, Mike.
You got it.
Alyssa?
Yeah, Mike, you said kind of learning from those LSU Texas games and moving forward into this Auburn game. How do you feel that this team has really kind of responded to that message and picking up things that you guys are doing well to take down to Auburn?
I think really well. I hope that it's not because they've gotten used to losing. That's what I worry about. I don't want them to be okay with losing. But I do think that because we have been through it, I think we understand and have a clear picture of reality of it, that it is going to be important against Auburn, maybe more so than against Texas because of what the reality of the situation is. I think they handled it really well. We had a slow start to practice yesterday, which, again, we've been talking about. There's a reason we have slow starts in games because we've had slow starts to practice. So I really challenged them today to come back. It's really hard on us too because, Izzy only practices one day a week in prep. And the day that she's not out there on the floor, it requires somebody that's a freshman a lot of times. Falls on Phoenix. It falls on even maybe on Keats and Jenna, who are really sophomores. So today will be the day where Izzy will practice. So I hope we get off to a better start. But I think they've handled it well. I just hope I hope it's for the right reasons. I hope it's because we understand we have to do that and not because we've become okay with playing somebody close for three quarters. We've been a part of that. And that is a part of any rebuild. I don't care what anybody says. She's fine. I didn't hear it. It's part of it. You have to take three good quarters against Texas. Not my words, Vic's words, and our opponent's words. And you got to build on that. And it's hard because we're such a black and white, hard and fast, win, lose sport in league. But I think our kids know the difference. And I want them to learn the difference, but I want it to be the right reason. Not that we're okay with losing, not that we're used to it, but that we don't want it to keep happening for the same reasons.
And then my last question, just Jenna, and how you feel like she's continued to understand her role more, the jump from freshman to sophomore year, and how much you guys really need her in this time of the year.
We need her, and she knows that we got to Texas early and we have a little shooting plan we do on the road, and the coaches were challenging our players, and Coach Nick and I, and we're in it, and JC were in it, and Jenna hit 55 of 57 threes. 55 for 57, kicked our butt. And I'm thinking, okay, this is it. And then it didn't translate. So I talked to her after practice, and it's just the speed of the game. She knows it. She knows she's a good shooter. There's nothing wrong with her shot mechanically. It's confidence. And I don't care what anybody says. You can't give anybody confidence. They have to earn it, and it has to happen in a game. It can't be a shooting drill against the coaches. It's got to be live action. And what I hope she knows is we've continued to stick with her. We've continued to try to find her shots. We're drawing up plays for her to get open because I do know that once that confidence gets going, what she's capable of doing. In the stead of that, before that happens, got to defend and rebound. And she's done a fine job with this rebounding. There's some defensive matchups that are a big challenge for her. But so we've tried to take some of the pressure off of it having to be just shooting and put it into some other areas. So rebound, defend, be in the right spot, move the ball. But once she starts making it, we become a lot more dynamic offensively. And then obviously any help we get on the defensive glass will be a help for us rebounding as well.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Dudley.
Hey, the out here in Denver, just you talked about the kids, and you've been this in it, and had seen the highs, seen the lows. How do you yourself handle this very unique team who really you don't have a lot of leaders per se to turn to on the team that's been there, done that,
Yeah.
gone on the road, even outside of Izzy?
Yeah, we tell bunches of stories, man. We have stories. It's not like story circle, but we stop and we tell stories a lot, and let them know that they're not that much different than the first team we had here when we got here. Although there were some older kids, it was new to everybody, and the way that group embraced it and started to be part of the rebuilding of it. I think they've kind of started to embrace that role. We've had to do more as coaches leading. That's okay. We knew that going in. So we have to tell a lot more stories. We have to take a lot more time on and off the court, in the airport, in the hotels, in the lobbies, in between practices. But we've tried to make sure each one of the players in their own unique role understand that it's not new. Everybody has gone through this at some shape, form, or fashion, and this is the way out. I know there's a great story in West Wing about it's okay to be down in a hole with somebody that knows the way to get out of the hole. We've been there. I mean, somebody asked me the other day, is this the longest losing streak you've ever been a part of? I'm like, nah, not even close. We went 1-24. We lost 22 in a row, and the sun comes up. You have practice the next day. All of that, just knowing and providing some perspective. It's all perspective and context. And I think we're good at that. I don't think it's a cop out. I think we are very demanding of what we're trying to get done, but we are very realistic, and we don't want to get a kid. We could destroy a kid's future by expecting too much too soon. So we try to keep it living in reality. We try to make sure the expectations are high, but they are attainable. And I think we've done a good job of that. We have improved. It's not going to always show up on the scoreboard against Texas and LSU. It's not. But hopefully it does against, the people that are in similar situations with us in the league. So this is one of those moments. I think Auburn had really high expectations for the year. I think they've had some injuries. I think they've had some setbacks. So they will come in hungry. I think they're going to be looking at this game just like we are as one of those very winnable opportunities. So I'll be anxious to see how our kids respond to that. They seem to have a good outlook on it, but we won't know until we tip it up.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
Daniel, sorry.
No, you're good. Coach, you mentioned that last game that Izzy would maybe come and find you if you took her out of the game. I mean, how was it? Is it just kind of a load management thing that she only practices one day a week, or
Yeah. If she goes both days, she'd be too sore to play. She's got 3 or 4 different things. It's not just one thing. It's 3 or 4 different things that accumulate. She doesn't require a lot of reps to understand it. The only thing we miss out is the timing and execution with her teammates. So we try to get that on the day that she does go. But I've done this with players, almost every year of my career. It takes a special kid to do it. She is that because she can learn without having to do the reps. But the most valuable 80 minutes of the week for us are the 2 games for her, not the practice minutes or the film minutes. It's those game minutes. So we have to do what we got to do to manage that because she's proven. She can go against she went against 2 of the best defensive players in the conference already, and can compete and can do some things offensively for us that we have to have. So it is a little bit of a trade-off. But it's to manage her long-term health, her long-term plans, and then also just even the short term, being able to play on game day.
And then you mentioned, you've been very open early in the season about how you've had to change kind of verbiage and the things you do, things in practice with this team. I'm wondering, like, have you been able to filter in new things throughout the season, kind of install things on the fly, or is that just not something that you can do with this team?
Yeah, we've not been able to do that as much. In the past, one of the things that we were able to do against people is add actions that they hadn't seen on film yet. We've not been able to do that. We've had to just kind of hone in on what we do and what we do well. That makes us a little more predictable, a little more guardable, I think. But I think it's what we have to do. It's not an excuse by any means at all. It's just where we are, and we have to get good at something. We've always had an identity. I think we are lacking that a little bit right now. Nobody can really put a finger on, what we're trying to do because it does fluctuate a little bit, and it's different than what we've had in the past. I think if you'd have said going into this year, we play fast, we take great shots, we don't turn it over. Well, we've turned it over too much this time, so we've had to slow down. And as you slow down, that shortens the game and requires you to make more shots. It magnifies the rebounding deficit. So in slowing down, it's caused us a lot of other areas that we have to be really good in that right now we haven't been. So we have changed. We have tried to adapt to give this particular roster the best chance to win. And it's new for all of us. The middle 10 seconds of the shot clock has been our best. And this is the first time ever that that's been the case for us. It's usually the first 10. So we are deep enough into the year now, though, that we're not going to make a whole lot more changes. It's just going to be getting better at what we are the best at. And right now, it's been taking our opportunities when they arise offensively, and then when not, walking it up a little bit more, taking a little bit more time, using a little bit more movement, a few more passes than in the past, and that's led to better shots. And I think eventually will lead to us making more.
And then last one for me, specifically for Danica and Vera, who are in foul trouble in Texas. I mean, have they responded kind of the way that you want? And, do they have kind of a better understanding of, I
they
guess,
do.
for lack of a better term, how to stay out of foul trouble?
Yeah, they do. That's two tough ones back to back. Those are two very physical games. And, again, I'm not making an excuse for them, but the physicality level goes up once you start SEC play. Some of the things that we were able to do, technique-wise in the non-conference, now the physicality, the amount of shoving, the amount of pushing, the amount of space eating up that the players do, it's a little bit more. They give you a little bit more leeway in the SEC. So I do think it'll take them a couple of games to adjust there. The Texas's inside game is going to get a lot of people in foul trouble out, as is LSU's. Those are just two teams that pounded in there. So I think those were maybe the outliers because they had been doing really well the last 7 or 8 games. So again, this will kind of be a game for us to judge. Was it an outlier because of our opponents, or is it something technique-wise we got to go back and teach better?
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I got to follow up really quick on one of those. Danica, I've noticed in the past few games, she'll pick up, it looks like just a really hard screen that she set, and they're calling them illegal screens. Have you gotten any clarity on some of these?
Yes and no. Yeah, they're really trying to protect kids from violent screens. And I get it. I'm all for it. But the way the rule is written is a player is required to have to either have the time and distance to change direction or see the screen coming. They kind of define that as 2 steps. Of the 7 illegal screens Danica's been called for, only one of them was truly illegal. So like when I send the clip in to get feedback, I get feedback back that says, yeah, that one probably should have gone the other way. So it gets frustrating, and it's a huge part of what we do. So the question becomes, Now I try to, after we get one, we stop doing that. But that's a huge way for Izzy to be able to alleviate pressure. And if we're setting legal screens, I really hope that we'll be able to get, the benefit of that, doing it correctly. The one at Texas was that one was tough because it was the most solid. And it's hard when a kid comes over and says, Coach, I did exactly what you told me to do. And I say, yeah, so yes, you're right. So we've got to make some tactical decisions. Do we take that out of our attack? Or do we stop doing it after a certain number of fouls? I think Danny's gets called a lot because she is so strong. She doesn't move. She absorbs the contact and it looks violent. It's not illegal. There's a difference between, a defender not having the awareness to see it and is he doing a good job setting the player up and it just creating a violent situation. So until the rules change and it says you can't do it, we're probably going to keep trying to get better at it because it's a vital part of what we do against teams that press us. It's a good observation, though.
Yeah. Let's say it's happened last few games a couple times.
Yep.
Daniel, you got one more?
Yeah, can I sneak in one more? Sorry to harp on the officiating, but has there been like a general directive? I know in some years in the men's they do that. Has there been a general directive of kind of what they're looking for in officiating, just kind of holistically?
Yeah, they call it point of emphasis. We'll get these updates, emails monthly, weekly sometimes. It's a real point of emphasis to make sure that the offensive player has time and distance to see the screen and react to it. So we get them and we get clips, and I watch them, and I study them, and I ask questions, and I think, the right feedback, and I think more often than not we teach it the right way. But yes, there is a safety issue certainly involved in it. I get that. And we do follow those directives and we follow it very, very closely because I don't want to be teaching our kids something that's illegal or something that's borderline. So we do follow it. They do send it. And I have phone calls every week. We send clips in every game and we get, written feedback on it. And we take that feedback and take it to the practice floor. So I think we're teaching the right technique. I think we're giving them time and space. We're going to keep working at it and make it more obvious. We did actually yesterday say that if you get yourself in a situation as the screener that you feel like maybe they don't see it coming, just open up and let them go. Don't go ahead and set it. So we worked on that as kind of a pressure release, maybe like after each of them get one foul. Then just open up and let the kid go. Don't set the screen. Open your shoulders up and let them slide by you so we don't get a screen call or we don't hurt anybody. But I don't think we're going to take it away completely. But, yes, to answer your question, they send out weekly emails with video clips that we follow, and we try to adjust as the year goes along as well.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Coach.